Amanda. I tried to keep busy with school and about 3 hours of standard daily chores. They had to be done correctly. If the dishes were not clean enough, she threw them. If the bathroom wasn't disinfected, she'd pour bleach on my hands. Many nights, she pulled me out of bed after midnight and told me not to go back to sleep until I'd finished bleaching the bathroom or scrubbing the kitchen to her standards. By the time I was 11, Mom began to rent me out to neighbors as a maid, and I hated it. I would clean entire homes for $10, and Mom usually kept money. I had to paint a neighbor's fencing 3 times so Mom could bask in the neighbor's gratefulness. She volunteered at church, but I did the work. I often felt like the pawn she used for her own benefit. I despised when she said things to me like, "But you do such a great job at such and such chore." Whatever, like I'm an idiot. She sometimes made me feel as if I owed her for something, perhaps for just being born. Everyone owed her. As I grew older, I began to protect Mom. She may not have loved perfectly, but I know my mother loved me with all her heart. I still loved her too, and I often defended her, perhaps in empathy. Regardless of her bipolar illness, my mother and I were close. We shared a unique bond. As I was maturing, around 12 and on, we had many joyful times and even prolonged periods of normality. I have unshakable memories of her spontaneity and light-hearted soul. Mom taught me the most outlandish dances and bizarre songs. One particularly crazy tune she commonly sang when she thought something was funny went, "Laughed, I thought I'd die. I did die. They buried me. Grass grew on my grave. It tickled me. Laughed, I thought I'd die. I did die. They buried me. Grass grew on my grave. It tickled me. Laughed." You get the idea. Nothing could have substituted for a sprightly, exuberant spirit. Mom was one of a kind. Mom began to babysit kids in the neighborhood. I was dumbfounded people would bring their children to my mother for care. When I was slogging away in the 5th grade, a young girl whom Mom was babysitting wanted to play with my cat, Amanda, but Amanda was not in the mood. The cat ran under my bed to escape the child, but the girl followed her and teased her with a fork. Amanda hastily clawed the girl's hand when she continued after her. It was a tiny scratch, but when I returned home from school, Mom immediately began to tell me that she would have to put my cherished Amanda to sleep. My stomach dropped, and I immediately recalled the day I'd received her on the passenger seat of Dad's car while still parked at the airport. Mom went on, saying the cat would jeopardize her business. The girl's mother came to pick her up, and I dreaded what the woman might say as Mom opened the door. Mom began the dramatic reenactment, immediately saying Amanda had attacked her child and that she understood if she wanted to have Amanda put to sleep. The girl's mother was surprised at first, but not the least bit concerned. She soon became exceedingly sympathetic and understanding, explaining how much she loved animals and could have cared less about the scratch. She clearly noticed Mom's odd behavior and quickly became compassionate towards me. She looked me in the face and placed her hands on my wet cheeks. I had begun to cry. "Oh, honey, everything's going to be fine. We don't want your cat put to sleep," she said with a sweet smile. My heart leaped with joy. Thank you so much," I shouted. "Can I give you a hug?" she asked. I threw my arms around her in gratefulness. I was smiling like the Cheshire Cat. I loved that silly cat so much, my precious gift from my father years ago. I breathed a sigh of relief. It was over, and I didn't have to worry about anyone hurting or killing Amanda. Nobody wanted my cat to die, and everything would be fine. I cuddled Amanda up to my chest extra close as we slept in my bed that night. Her purring juddered my torso, and her whiskers tickled at my nose, but I loved it. I was so relieved, so thankful she wasn't taken from me. I slept soundly for the first time in a long time. That relief would be fleeting, as Mom had no desire to keep Amanda. She already had plans to dispose of her the next day while I was at school. I had no idea. Mom had Amanda put to sleep. She killed my cat, and I didn't even get to say goodbye. I came home from school, and Mom told me she was dead because she scratched a child, and that was that. I literally felt wounded. When the girl's mother found out what my mom had done, she was appalled and never brought her child to Mom again. Mom's extremely important childcare career ended within the same month, and she was back in her locked bedroom. Life remained the same, less one beloved friend, my Amanda. Sadly, this is not an uncommon story. This is what happened to every single pet we ever owned or tried to own. The loss of my second dog, Liquor, felt psychosomatically torturous to me because I was 10 years old and attached to the dog. She was my best friend. When Mom packed up everything, even the ice trays, to leave my father, she left Liquor, my half-Dalmatian dog, in the backyard. Dad didn't like animals. There was no way to sugarcoat that fact. I knew my father would certainly find the dog, and I prayed he would care for her. Deep down, I didn't think he would. Losing Liquor to Dad felt so much better than losing her by death. Maybe I could visit her and she would be safe? Dad didn't want anything to do with Mom's plan of taking care of my dog, and soon both were using Liquor to hurt one another. Neither stopped to think about what it was doing to me. After a visit the following summer, Dad decided to send Liquor back with me on my flight. He didn't tell Mom the dog was coming. He left me to face her and receive her rage. Mom was infuriated. Even the dog wasn't exempt from her hostility. We were living with my grandparents, and when my grandfather said, "You can't keep her here," I had no idea what to do. Their hands were full with a 2-year-old bulldog of their own. "You take care of it," Mom directed. The decision of what to do with this dog was solely my responsibility, and I was 10 years old. I hung signs for a free-loving dog around the neighborhood, went door to door begging neighbors to adopt her, and even spoke to my class and hung signs by the bathrooms and water fountains at school. Eventually, she was sent to a no-kill shelter by the loving father of a friend of mine. Not one pet lasted long in our house. Usually, the outcome was grimmer. Every pet I loved would disappear in one way or another. By the time I was 14, my mom had disregarded, ditched, or killed 4 dogs and 3 cats. My father wasn't any help because he didn't care for animals and crudely called everything with 4 legs a dog. I changed my pet of choice to hamsters and gerbils. They remained relatively safe in our house. I could retell story after story about too many innocent puppies and kittens being returned or killed by Mom. At some point, Mom would take the animal away, causing dramatic psychological pains in me, ripping my young heart to shreds. To escape the jungle, I got involved in any sport I could play. Sports are characterized by order, protection, and control. I literally ran into that world. Sometimes, Mom or Dad volunteered to coach or to help coach. I know she was only making a valiant effort to express love to me and to be involved in my life, but I hated that. I was scared others on the baseball team might find out our family secrets. Dad knew I sucked at soccer and tried to teach me, but he made me dislike the sport altogether. I am still appreciative of their efforts, but we all soon discovered that my real aptitude was track and field. I was born to run. My first coach, Mike, made me feel exceptional, as though I actually had worth. Long-legged and lightweight, I was fast. I became a track star. I'd never felt such praise and encouragement before. Undefeated and breaking school records, I gained some much-needed confidence through track. Mike affectionately called me Cote and hailed me on as I sprinted, sometimes holding a picture of my favorite crush of the month at the finish line. I was positive I ran faster while dashing towards an 8x10 glossy of Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys. You all made me smile, from White Castle to the Nile. Hold it now, hit it, track and rap. My coaches were the only people telling me I was special. Mom and I maintained our quirky love-hate relationship, but I was ever fearsome. It wasn't always hard to love her, but it could be a labor of love. We began to share a love of music, especially Pink Floyd and Elton John. One day, she took my hand in hers and told me I was about to have a religious experience. She got out a record and put those ancient, massive headphones over my ears. I waited, impatiently, for her ancient, lame tune. She played Have a Cigar by Pink Floyd. I was captivated and kept listening until the album was finished. And then I turned around and listened to it again. And again. I literally absorbed the Welcome to the Machine album. She was right, and that began my love affair with music. Many years later on Mother's Day, I bought 2 tickets to the Moody Blues. I often celebrated my mother through music. I still do. Of course, she was still singing her own crazy songs, similar to the tickling grass growing on the graves tune. I could hear her in the kitchen one day. I love Bosco, it's rich and nourishing. Mama puts it in my milk to try and poison me. But I fooled Mama, I put it in her tea. And now I have no Mama to try and poison me. I kid you not, that is how the song went. Does my mom know any normal songs? I rolled my eyes at her at the time, But really, I thought she was terribly funny. She may have sometimes had a crazy, dark sense of humor, but she could be absolutely entertaining.